All right, guys, welcome back to Agora Wealth Management. And my name is Kyle Waugh, and I'm here to talk to you today about should you try to make money from your side hustle or your hobby. Um, in this case, it is a friend of mine who really loves puppies. So this will be near and dear to many of your hearts. And I don't know, who doesn't like something very lovable and cute to squeeze and just snuggle the heck out of? But long story short is this person actually has a pretty solid career and makes pretty good money, and definitely north of six-figure earnings, or net income, let's just say that. But the question is this side hustle worth it? So I feel like, as the financial advisor and king of king of side hustles, I've had a really hard time myself saying no to all of the shiny objects, the puppies, as it were. And this is still something that I'm really working on refining. So I mean this with all of the love in my heart and in the world, that this may not be the best idea, but let's take a look at it and see. So right now, this person, she has two dogs, and you can create a specific breed. I can't even remember what it was called, but this dog typically, well, and I had the notes out here that I just closed. So it looks like per litter, there would be an average of 8 puppies per litter, and total revenue per litter would be $4,800. So per puppy, I guess I have the notes written down here, we're looking at about, we'd get $600 per puppy, but the expense per shots would be about $68 per puppy. And food for roughly 2 months that you have of feeding the puppies or the dogs would end up being about $395 per month. So about $790, $800. Probably not, well, I mean, at this point, we're not even into the time component, but you have $544 in shots. You have expenses for a shed, and the shed, it looks like, is going to be about $6,300, slightly less than that, but you could depreciate it over 15 years. So we also need to calculate in mileage, whether we are flying or driving, and that's if this friend of mine is actually going to do it herself. What would the time involvement be, and can we figure out an hourly rate, and how could we approximate that? So this is, I mean, I've done a little bit of AI, so I've logged into OpenAI just to kind of see if it will generate a spreadsheet, which it did. I have the paid for professional version. I'll let you know if it's worth it. That could be another review that we end up doing. But I have found that occasionally you do need to check the math, just because you could give AI the same formula multiple times and it might interpret that you seek to get some sort of different number. I don't know why I've got different numbers, but I've done that through a wide array of calculations. So it's good to have constants instead of variables in this. So if you can remove variables, you're going to get more accurate numbers from the formulas that you're giving. But it looks like XYZ dog breeding company. It includes revenue per puppy breakdown and the key expenses for shots, food, and shed depreciation. Right now, time involvement, hourly return are placeholders. If you like, we can add mileage using the IRS rate. which is about 67 cents a mile. Currently, her hours of work per litter, including feeding, cleaning, vet visits, driving, etc., so you could calculate the hourly return. Would you like me to fill those in with standard assumptions? And yes, I would. So when we look at this, the breakdown translates into, let's see, we get a little bit further into this, which are the expenses on the mileage. First is the shed depreciation, which is about $420 per year. We have just shy of $1,500, so $1,474 in mileage expenses. So the total expenses per litter are $3,228. So the net profit per litter is about $1,572 per litter. So the estimated hours per litter is about 155 hours, which 160 hours would be like a full month of full 40-hour weeks. So this is like 20 hours per week, which probably sounds about right if you think about having that many puppies. I mean, there's a lot of things that you're probably not going to calculate in there when you initially think about this, which is my whole argument for avoiding these side hustles, because I've done so many of them now. I know it's not just doing the thing and then it is on autopilot. It's the whole mindset behind, well, dividing your focus. So in the biblical essence of looking at this, you're basically serving two masters, which is not recommended on a biblical foundation aspect. So the hourly rate of return ends up being just north of $10 an hour. So if you figure that you're already clearing, let's say even if you're at $100,000 a year and you're working 2,000 hours over that year, you're at $50 an hour. That's at $100,000 an hour. You make 5 times more money just doing what you're good at. And that's at a base rate, not saying, everything over and above that, right? But you do make money doing your hobby, which is maybe something that you really do enjoy. I would argue that if you do 20 hours a week, if you do what you need to do to become good at something, to be able to market it, it all turns into work. And so it's very interesting, like we've heard the statement before of, if you find what you love doing, then it doesn't feel like work. And I feel like that's true to an extent. And where that starts to fall apart is that the enjoyment and the joy basically inverts, because you end up becoming really good at raising puppies, but I find that you lose the enjoyment of snuggling them and loving them, and the little slivers of joy from doing that is really where there's the most amount of enjoyment derived from that activity. But becoming actually good at it, which you will become better at it the more that you do, but the more that you do means that it becomes more of replicating these micro behaviors and activities that indefinitely kind of lead you down a path of feeling like you're forced to do something. And so I like working on cars and motorcycles. I like turning wrenches. I like a lot of little handy projects, which you can find more of on YouTube if you're interested. But I like that stuff, but I found that I don't want to do that full time, because what ends up happening is it dilutes my focus and my ability to find enjoyment in those activities, because once you start creating deadlines and you have other people that are waiting on you for puppies or completed projects or a vehicle that's running, now you have another boss. And so what ends up happening is it removes some of the ability to appreciate just the small micro dose of petting a soft cuddly dog or cuddling it. For me, it's driving a fast car or finished project, and or looking at a finished project, and it's like, wow, that's beautiful. I'm glad that I don't have to do that all day every day, because then I wouldn't enjoy it as much. Um, but do I recommend trying to experiment? Sure. And if you're going to do it, you might as well do it, make money, and then you can decide, well, do I want to do this again? If you look at something that's, if you did, in this circumstance, I did 2 litters per year, you're going to come out making $3,000. So that's not a bad way to make an extra couple grand. If you are trying to work your way out of, let's say you don't have any other options. Let's say that you don't have opportunities around you, but you do have these 2 dogs and you can make puppies. Well, an extra $3,000 per year, we could look at plugging that into investments, and that might actually produce something that's fruitful towards your bottom line. So I think it really depends on specifically the person. And I always would recommend starting slow. Don't take on debt to do one of these projects, because as you can hear, I'm sick. I tend to push myself pretty hard. I need days or hours off to sleep, recover, get myself back to health. There's things that happened just the other night. It was my son's football game was last night instead of tonight. So that shifted a change in my schedule. And these little things aren't always easy to see how to navigate. But the more obligations you have, you want to honor them. And you don't want to, in this circumstance, it's like you don't want to, I don't know, you might have a health issue with the dog, which wasn't calculated in here, and that probably will happen. How are you going to deal with that? How are you going to, this doesn't account for any flight delays, any rescheduling of other appointments that might get caught up in this. This also doesn't account for any hiccups in other things that might come down the pipeline. So if you have a flat tire, all of a sudden that throws a couple extra hours into the inefficiency. This is a very straight line thing. And, loans, credit cards, borrowed money from other people just does not take time off, and you want to honor those commitments. So however you're funding it, in this scenario, it's not other than, where's the money coming from for the shed and for the food. If you have cash, great, that works. But if you have to borrow it, that's going to chew into the profitability as well. I venture to say that these things always take more time than you would ever imagine. So anytime I do a little project on the building, if I don't have all the right tools, it's easy. The next closest hardware store is Ace, and it's 7 to 10 minutes away. But the other day they just had traffic, so I took an extra 2 to 5 minutes to get in and out of that parking lot. And if Ace doesn't have what I need, then I got to go another 3 to 5 minutes down to Home Depot or Lowe's, right? So, the planning takes time. You can't just sit there and know this is what I need. You get better at it, and you remove some of that ignorance as you continue to work through this. But and I had another client recently talk about something similar. It's a lot larger scale, so it would be a shift from side hustle or side business into full scale. Like, we're going to go full bore into another project. And if you're already making good money, you really need to look at that. Because in between starting a business to getting to where you want to go, I can tell you, I've done 22 years in this business, and it takes a lot to get from this point to this point. And so if your earning potential is already towards the high end of where you want to go, you need to think about I mean, because you're not just going to be doing the job, like you're going to be doing multiple jobs. So in running your own business, you are not just wearing one hat. So you're going to have to become good at multiple things. Um, and then again, that leads you into more distractions. And Myron Golden says, where intention flows, distraction follows. And that just means that you're going to have all the little things. You're going to have the, oh, so and so didn't show up, or this vet realized that these shots won't work. They have to come back out at a later date. That means I have to reschedule this appointment with one of my other clients. You have a whole mess of things behind that. So when you look at this, I mean, so in Colorado, the minimum wage is just under $15 an hour. So when you look at this, and you're making, so depending on how you do the math, right? Because $10 is about 2/3 of 15. So you're at either 33% less or 50% less, depending on how you're doing the math. But the reality is, you got to really love cuddling puppies if you're going to spend, I mean, somewhere around 20 hours a week doing that, versus, the other alternatives are just fostering puppies or going down to the Humane Society in this instance. And, that might be more worthwhile. Is it lucrative? Well, yes, you're making money, but if you compare it to where your time is efficiently spent, I don't know, maybe it is worth it. Maybe, in this specific circumstance, if you don't have a lot of other obligations, if you don't have kids or employees or other projects, depending on that 20 hours a week, maybe you're going to be fine. But, you're going to have all these other little issues with dogs escaping or getting sick, or, I mean, if it's out in the middle of, depends on the environment, right? You might have predators wanting to come in and snack on those cute little puppies. I don't know how secure everything is, but securing the shed, that's another thing. Properly insulating it. I don't know how hardy are the specific breed of dog. All those things are, things that I look at with people when they're entering into a new venture or trying to replace something is, hey, look, let's be overly analytical, because at this point it's, this is a 17-minute video right now, but you could be into this 17 hours or 17 weeks, and then you're just now discovering these things. But I mean, I'm just skimming the surface on this, and I know because I lived it out. I've done a lot of other side hustles, probably more than most people. So if you guys have questions, please ask me. I'll get into the details with you and dig into the nitty gritty, I guess, so to speak. So I hope that this helps and serves you well. I'd like to just help people understand what's all involved when they're doing something like this, and I'll probably come back around. And I mean, anytime somebody wants me to do an evaluation or inject some insight into their business or a thought that they're having of pursuing something, I always like looking at this stuff. So with any thoughts, questions, or comments, just reach out to me. Email is going to be Kyle, Kyle, at Agora, Agora, wealthmanagement.com, all spelled out. Thank you for watching. Let me know if I missed anything. Certainly just trying to address the 10,000 foot view, but I'm sure I missed stuff. There's just a ton of moving parts, especially if you're somebody that does this. Your insight could be really valuable just because I could pass it along. So if you feel inclined, send me an email and I'll forward it to the person that's considering this endeavor. Have a great day and God bless. Bye-bye.